Hello, Wayne here. I want to thank you for joining me today. Time is very precious, and I want to make sure you're getting something valuable in return. I can't think of anything more valuable than improving your well-being so the time you have is used in the best way possible. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and hit the notification button so you can be notified when my next videos are released. We are just getting started on improving our well-being through emotional intelligence development. I want to make sure you have access to all my content as I am developing. Now that we have that out of the way, today I'm going to discuss 10 ways your life will improve by developing your self-awareness. First of all, you'll understand yourself better. If you don't understand yourself better, you'll naturally create confusion in your life and continue to make bad decisions. You need to understand why you do the things you do, why you react to the things you react to, and why you feel the things you feel. When things go wrong, you need to be able to work through those emotions to begin to find a path to a solution, the what behind it. If you cannot navigate those emotions, you'll just muddle through it and probably end up doing the wrong thing. And this will either not solve your problem or make it worse. When you understand yourself better, you can take a step back, evaluate things either subjectively or objectively, gain the proper perspective, and then take the best possible steps to work through your problems. When you're more self-aware, you'll also have a better understanding of your beliefs. Are you a parrot of the channels you watch, the people you listen to, or the posts you read online? You're made up of so many things that come from how you were raised, whether they're moral, political, religious, or even spiritual beliefs. And when you're not self-aware, you lose connection with that part of yourself. And you begin to adopt the most dominant bias in your life, depending on how much of that source you absorb. When you're more self-aware, you're your own person. Yes, you can still be influenced by those things if you saturate yourself with online news feed or you allow yourself to stay in an echo chamber. But when you're more self-aware, you begin to recognize those changes in your internal feelings and you take action to rebalance those things in your life. When you're more self-aware, you're also going to know your strengths. Have you taken time to take stock of what you're really good at? Self-aware people do, and they do it often. Why is this important? For one, it can affect your overall well-being. When you know your strengths, as in really know your strengths, you're more likely to have a higher sense of self-regard and may have higher self-esteem. This may lead to more confidence and may improve your personal or professional life. Others can tell when someone is confident as well as when they're timid. They'll read that body language and act accordingly. And those who are self-aware, those who keep a close eye on their strengths because they also know they can use them to balance against some of their weaknesses. But be careful with this area. If you overuse a strength, you could actually end up turning it into a weakness. And what do I mean by that? Well, if one of your strengths is that you speak your mind, and then on the other side of that, one of your weaknesses is that you have low empathy, you could easily destroy someone else's motivation, their self-esteem, and even your relationship with them, causing irreparable harm. And you definitely don't want to end up in that area. Self-aware people also know their weaknesses. And this is a tough one for a lot of people. For one, sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. Self-aware people spend a lot of time in this area and often ask for feedback from others. This one is tricky because you can beat yourself up too much. And this is why it is good to get feedback. You don't want to spend too much time trying to improve what you think is a weak area when everyone else around you thinks it's a strength. You could, in fact, be working too much on what is really a strength and ignoring something that's truly a weakness. Blind spots are tricky like that. Weaknesses are also dangerous if we dwell on them. So what I always encourage people to do is identify what the weakness is or what they are, and then start taking action to correct them. But don't spend a lot of energy thinking about the actual weakness. Spend your energy working on the solution. Otherwise, you can easily become depressed, and we certainly don't want that to happen. When you're self-aware, you're also going to improve your critical thinking skills. And this is where self-aware people can really shine in many different settings. And why is this? Well, they understand their feelings so well that they can objectively identify the subjective. And what do I mean by that? They can recognize the feelings inside the subjective as they're happening and objectively put those feelings in perspective to understand how they may or may not affect their thoughts on the problem at hand. Then they can all have almost this dual conversation in which they entertain the emotional viewpoint as well as the objective cognitive viewpoint to decide what is the best course of action. And sometimes the emotional course of action is the appropriate one. Sometimes you have to acknowledge that the short-term objective loss of a decision is well worth the price of the long-term emotional gain. But you cannot weigh out the pros and the cons of the objective versus the subjective, the logical versus the emotional, if you do not have the appropriate level of awareness of yourself. In a similar fashion, self-aware people, or when you become more self-aware, it's also going to improve your decision-making skills. And like I said, this is in similar fashion to critical thinking, but slightly different. You see, those who are self-aware are very familiar with analyzing things because, guess what? They analyze themselves on a daily basis. Of course, they should be able to take those same skills, they should be able to translate those same skills into analyzing other things and making better decisions. And because of these skills, the self-aware person will try to take many factors into account before making a decision. And this is where the feedback also comes into play. They know there are many perspectives to any given problem, and they know that they may need more information before making a decision. Self-aware people are accustomed to gathering information over an extended period of time and evaluating the information to see what they can learn from it. As a result, they're better equipped to determine the best possible outcome for them and proceed accordingly. And I talk about this a lot in journaling, which is the importance of it, is that you gather that data and you kind of create a historical timeline for yourself about different feelings, different triggers, and all those different things, so that you could, over time, make good decisions about how to move forward with those things. When you're self-aware, it's also going to improve your listening skills. Did you hear that? Just checking. Why are they better at listening? Well, it's quite simple. If you don't even bother to listen to yourself, your emotions, your inner thoughts, your body sensations, I mean, you are your own favorite person, right? And if you can't listen to yourself, how can you really expect to have the ability to listen to others? And because self-aware people recognize their own biases, their own triggers, they're more likely to recognize that in others too, at least as they develop. And because they recognize these triggers, they can try to adapt the conversation to improve communications between themselves and others. Next, those who are more self-aware are also going to be better at self-regulating. This is one of the biggest benefits of becoming more self-aware. We often go through life in many different situations, really, without really knowing why we responded the way we did. Some choose to go through life believing things are done to them, that they're a victim, rather than accepting that things sometimes just happen the way they happen. When these things happen, how are you triggered? What triggers you? What kind of emotions bubble to the surface, and how quickly do they escalate? Can you control these emotions, or do you just find yourself going along for a ride or seeing red and losing control? Self-aware people know their own triggers and work very diligently to understand and overcome the challenges that come with those triggers. What is important for you is to determine how you will process your emotions once a trigger has occurred. And honestly, this takes practice, but it's very empowering once you realize you can decide how you react to your emotions. If someone is doing something to you, then you are a victim, and how you feel is in the hands of another. If you realize that you can choose how you react to the behavior of another, you're no longer a victim. You are in charge. And what is easier? Changing the behavior of another person or changing how you respond to their behavior? I think the answer is quite obvious at this point. Self-aware people are also more empathetic. Self-aware people are eventually able to move beyond themselves. And if I'm being honest, this is where we really all should be. Empathy is not necessarily about not holding others accountable as a leader, or allowing people to take advantage of you in your personal life. This can happen if empathy, for example, is one of your strengths, and assertiveness or reality checking is one of your weaknesses. But for now, what I want you to focus on really is just empathy as a strength, and we can talk about the other ones later. When you're more self-aware and spend a lot of time analyzing and dealing with your own emotions, you begin to see their value, and you're less likely to discount the emotions of another. Logic has a place in this world, but so too does emotion. But more on that later. When you're empathetic, you're also more likely to be a better listener. This may allow you the opportunity to really hear what has never really been heard from their perspective. And as such, you may help someone also see a solution that they had never even really considered. It begins really by having the willingness to kind of shut off your own agenda for a few minutes, a few moments, and hear from their perspective, and that includes emotions and all. And lastly, when you're more self-aware, over time, you will find that you're also a better leader. Yes, as you become more self-aware and begin practicing all these different things that we talked about before, like you got empathy, critical thinking, problem solving, better listening, etc., you will become a better leader. This will not occur by improving just self-awareness, but over the course of improving all these other corresponding traits as well, you will become a better leader. As I said previously, there must be a balance between many different things, but I think the most important one to begin with is self-awareness, which is why, reason I started my video series on self-awareness, because it lays the foundation for all the others. Becoming more self-aware opens you up to many more possibilities in your life, and will eventually lead to more success than you could have imagined. And this is what it's all about, making the most of your life. And that's what the channel is dedicated to providing you, just that. I also have several different programs available to help guide you along the way to accelerate that development and improve the overall quality of your life and all that you do. And then once again, if you like what you've heard today and you'd like to learn more, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you can be alerted to all my upcoming content as I release it. Also, in the comments below, you'll find links to my business as well as others that I think may be helpful in providing you tools that you need to continue your emotional intelligence development and the major steps in improving your emotional well-being. And eventually, like I said, improving the quality of your life. Until next time, take care, and I hope your day becomes better and better.